By what name are you known?
There are some who call me Tim.
Welcome to another episode of Timmy Talks, the channel where we talk old school magic. And today we are back in the Netherlands for more action from the Dutch X Points Open. And I mean, this is going to be sweet. We've reached round number 4. And in round number 4, we have Martijn, who's playing a deck that, I mean, this is no ordinary deck. I've called it Enchanted Tower. It's a 3-color deck. It's got Skull of Orm and a lot of enchantments and also a full playset of Ivory Towers. Hence the name Enchanted Towers. And he's playing against Ivanov, and Ivanov is playing a black and red troll disco deck. And nice to note here is that Ivanov is better known online as Brightsdays. He has his own YouTube channel, maybe you're familiar with it, where he posts a lot of content about old school and also about X Points Magic. So it's pretty cool. I'll put a link to his channel in the show notes. If you want to check out his content, you can by just looking at the video's description, and then you can find a link to his channel. Okay, now before I start with the deck decks, I think I'm going to start with that deck Enchanted Tower because it looks so interesting. First, a message from our sponsor, 3for1 Trading. 3for1 Trading is one of Europe's leading Magic the Gathering retailers. Their online shop has a fantastic selection of high-end Magic cards, especially for vintage, legacy, and yes, old school Magic players. They now exclusively offer my community free, fully insured and fast worldwide shipping on all their high-end singles, full sets, and out-of-print sealed products. They upload new cards every Wednesday and have weekly sale offers and reductions waiting just for you. Use my code TIMMY to get free worldwide shipping on your first order over $500 or euros. Have fun ordering those cards, and thank you 3for1 Trading for sponsoring this video. And we are back and ready to dive into those deck decks. I'm going to start with the player on the left, that is Martijn. Let's take a look at his deck, Enchanted Tower. And here we see the deck of Martijn. So I've called it Enchanted Tower because of the playset of Ivory Towers and of course the fact that it has a lot of enchantments. And maybe Ivory Tower is a good starting point here because I think it's a very vital card in Martijn's strategy. Ivory Tower, a card from Antiquity, is an artifact for 1 mana. And during your upkeep, you gain 1 life for each card you have in your hand above 4. So if you've got 7 cards in hand, you gain 3 life. Now the cool thing is if you have multiple Ivory Towers, you gain twice as much life. Now, one of the combos in this deck, because there are a few here, but one of the combos in this deck is Ivory Tower land text, because you can stack it in a way that when you get those extra lands from land text, that happens before your Ivory Tower triggers. So let's say you have an active land text and you can look up 3 cards. Let's say you've got 7 cards already in hand. That means 10 cards in hand. Then you've got your Ivory Tower trigger. That means you gain 6 life. So Ivory Tower land text can really get out of hand. And then we also see a single copy of Greed in here. Greed and Ivory Tower is another well-known combo. Greed, of course, an enchantment from Legends that lets you draw extra cards for life, and Ivory Tower gives you life. So the life you gain from Tower, you kind of cash in to draw cards with the Greed. Another well-known strategy. And it's really nice to see, Martijn, how you've kind of are using a lot of enchantment strategies with your Tower, but not really fully committing on one, if you know what I mean, if that makes sense. Because, for example, he's playing Lance Edge. Lance Edge land text is another really good combo, right? Lance Edge, you can discard a land from your hand to deal 2 damage to target opponent, target player actually. Could you also target yourself, question mark, with Lance Edge? I think you can. Anyway, you're only playing with 1 Lance Edge, so you're not going fully in there, but it's in the deck, right? So it can be a win con. You can win through Lance Edge, of course. And Lance Edge land text works really well together. Another way to win the game, or just at least to deal a lot of damage from a control position, is Underworld Dreams. Underworld Dreams, also an enchantment, also from Legends, 3 black to cast, that reads, whenever your opponent draws a card, he or she takes a damage. So that's another way to kind of win the game. And then what I love, if I look at the bottom row, this is so funny. You're playing main 2 Circle of Protection reds. You're playing main 2 Circle of Protections black, I mean. You're playing main also a Circle of Protection red and a Circle of Protection artifacts. I find that really intriguing because usually when people play Circle of Protections main, they have, for example, a Sleight of Mind to manipulate it. They play, for example, with, Orcish Artillery in the case of COP red, or Pestilence in the case of a COP black. But you're playing none of these cards. You've just purely playing it main based on the meta. It's a meta call, right? I think you're looking at the X Points meta saying, we've got so many red decks, we've got so many black decks, they're really good colors. I'm just going to play it main, because it's going to be so annoying for a majority of my opponents. And actually today you're quite right, because your opponent is playing a Troll Disco deck, meaning red and black, and you already play those Circle of Protections main. So I'm really interested to see how that's going to work out. And then your deck, by the way, is completely creatureless, meaning that, of course, you're playing with Wrath of God. Wrath of God, such an amazing board wipe, especially when you're playing creatureless. It's going to destroy all creatures. And remember, they cannot be regenerated, so I guess they're all buried, right? And what I like, again, another little synergy, these little combos that you're playing in your deck. I love Maze of If with Wrath of God because when you play a maze, what happens? Your opponent wants to play more creatures, which is exactly what you want your opponent to do because you're playing Wrath of God. You get more value out of your Wrath that way. Now, when we're looking, continuing to look at like how do you actually want to win the game? So we've got Land's Edge as an option. We've got Underworld Dreams as an option, but we also see 2 red burn cards in here. That's a Fireball and an Earthquake. Those are also options. Earthquake, of course, really synergizes well with your Circle of Protection red. And then also really sneakily in the left bottom corner there, we see Animate Dead. Animate Dead, 1 black and 1, get target creature back from a graveyard, any graveyard. And of course, you're not playing any creatures, so you're planning to steal a really big and strong creature of your opponent. I like that. That's actually a very blue thing to do if you're Martijn. Maybe that's why I like that so much. And then we're also seeing 2 cards that I love. I used to love this card as a little Timmy. That's Skull of Orm. Skull of Orm, look at that art. Isn't that amazing by Tom Weinerstrand? 3 to cast, 5 in tap. Bring 1 enchantment card from your graveyard to your hand. Now 5, I know what you're thinking. 5's pretty steep. You're right, 5 is expensive. That's probably why you don't see this often. But hear me out. If you've got Ivory Tower Lantex going and you're gaining that much life, life is going to give you time. This is a deck that wants to play long games. If you play long games, these expensive cards become better because you're going to have more mana to your disposal. So I think for Martijn, what's really crucial in this match, and any match he's probably playing today, get your tower out, get your tax out, start your life gain engine, and then usually the rest will kind of work out. If your life gain engine gets disrupted, then you've got a problem. At least that's how I kind of read this deck. So Martijn, thank you for bringing this deck to the tournament. I absolutely love it. Now let's take a look at the deck of your opponent. And here we see the deck of Ivanov. So this is really your Troll Disco deck, right? Because we're seeing Sedge Trolls and Nevinyrral's Discs. And that's, of course, a very classic combination and a very good combination in X points, right? The Troll Disco deck is a deck that usually does quite well at these tournaments. So let's just start at the beginning, shall we? Sedge Troll, of course, a 2/2 creature for 1 red and 2. But if you have a swamp, it gets +1/+1, and for 1 black you can regenerate it. And the regeneration is quite important because Nevinyrral's Disc, of course, is in this deck as well. It's an artifact for 4, comes into play tapped. When you untap it, pay 1, and then it destroys all the artifacts, all the enchantments, all the creatures. And remember, it destroys them, meaning you can regenerate. So you can pop the disc, regenerate your troll, and then you still have creatures left on the board to, hopefully win the game from that point forward. That's basically the strategy in a nutshell. And of course, this also works together quite well with Mishra's Factories because the disc doesn't destroy land. So as long as you don't animate your factory before popping the disc, you're quite safe. Now, he's not just playing creatures with regeneration because he's also playing Hypnotic Specters and 2 Sengir Vampires. And I do like that strategy because I think Hypnotic Spectre, it's such a good card. The 2/2 flyer, when it attacks and deals damage to your opponent has to discard a card at random. At random makes the card so good. So your opponent has to have an answer to the Hypnotic Spectre. So usually, before you get around getting your whole disc set up, getting your Sedge Troll strategy set up, you already have hopefully deployed some hippies, and your opponents probably needed to use some Swords to Plowshares or Lightning Bolts to kind of get rid of those Hypnotic Specters. Like Hypnotic Spectre can really be a pain. And then, of course, for the late game, you're playing your full 4 Sengir Vampire. That's kind of, the muscly creature in this build. And then he's also playing with, the Burn, the 4 Chain Lightnings, the 4 Lightning Bolts. It makes sense. Nothing really special happening here. And of course, your 4 Sinkholes. I think today the Sinkholes can be, again, really good. I mean in this match, because we've discussed the Mazes of If before of Martijn. Sinkhole, of course, a perfect answer. And I think in Old School in general, it usually pays off to play with at least 4 ways to destroy a land, right? In this case, we've got 4 Sinkholes, but that can also be a Chaos Orb, a Strip Mine, and, 2 other cards to get rid of lands. I think in Old School, there are so many special lands, even in X points where Mishra's Factory and Maze of If are cards with points on them. Even in such an environment, it still kind of pays off to play with some land destruction at least. This deck obviously is quicker than Martijn's deck. This deck can kind of get out of the gates. We also see 4 Dark Rituals in this deck. So if if Ivanov can have like a really quick start and he can like play a Hypnotic Spectre that Martijn cannot answer, then, this game could go Ivanov's way really quickly. If we get more in the later game, I still think that Ivanov has a very good shot at winning it because he's playing with 4 Nevinyrral's Discs. Now, of course, he is playing against white, has to face Disenchant. I think, this is going to be a really interesting matchup because I kind of see chances for both players. I think, like, Ivanov, you're playing a little bit of a more straightforward deck, and of course with a lot of burn. So I think you're slightly the favorite here, but I can definitely see Martijn taking over. Also because he's playing COP Black and COP Red main. So this can really go both ways. Anyway, we've looked at the deck of Ivanov, we've looked at the deck of Martijn, and that only means one thing. We are ready for round number 4 of the Dutch X Points Open. Let's go. Game number 1 here, let's go. On the left we have Martijn. He's playing a deck I've called Enchanted Tower, and I believe both players, by the way, took a mulligan. And on the right we have Ivanov, and both players are now trying to figure out what they want to discard. Or discard or put on the bottom of the library, I mean. So Ivanov making a choice here, keeping those 6, putting 1 card on the bottom. And Martijn here putting a Skull of Orm on the bottom. And I'm really curious to see Martijn's deck in action. I believe he's on the play here. So 6 cards in hand, starting with a Swamp. And playing a Tower and passing the turn. So a little bit unfortunate for him that he had to take a mulligan. That means that he gains no life from the Tower here. 4 cards in hand at the moment. Ivanov starting with a basic Swamp and passing the turn. And Skull found here. And it looks like Martijn has no other lands sources here. Only has that Maze and he's playing out the Maze. Lots of glare on the card, but we know it's a Maze of If. There we see a Mishra's Factory by Ivanov, so could start attacking with that. But Martijn, of course, has that Maze. Martijn found a land from the top, so second Swamp played and a pass. So both players really building up here in the first couple of turns. There's a Mountain. And there we see a Sedge Troll. So this is, of course, the signature creature of the Troll Disco deck. 2/2, but when you own a Swamp, it gets +1/+1. So now it's a 3/3, and you can also regenerate it for 1 black. And Martijn has a Chaos Orb in hand, could consider flipping on it, but he's going to go for Underworld Dreams instead. I think that's a good decision. Because remember, Martijn also plays 2 Wrath of Gods main. So that's of course a great answer to regeneration creatures. And Ivanov here taking a point of damage from that Underworld Dreams because he drew his card for turn. Let's see what he can do. He's first going to swing in. There we see the Maze sending back the Sedge. Ooh, there's a strip. Oh, look at this. This is really good. Nevinyrral's Disc. And I think now Martijn's really happy that he kept that Chaos Orb. He's probably going to use it against the Nevinyrral's Disc. And again, no new lands found, by the way, for Martijn. Martijn is also playing quite a lot of white in the deck, but not finding any white mana at the moment. Playing out a Chaos Orb. Yeah, so he is going to flip probably on the Nevinyrral's Disc. I guess he could also consider flipping on the Troll, but in this case I would go for the Disc, right? Because you don't want to lose your Dreams and your Tower. Here we go. Oh, it's a miss! It's a miss flip! Oh, that is tough. That is really tough for Martijn. Yeah. Misses the flip here, meaning that Disc is still around. And that gives Ivanov a lot of options, and Ivanov, of course, has to take the damage first from the Underworld Dreams. Now he's going to use the strip on the Maze of If. Could swing in for 5 here. Depends on what he wants to do with that Disc, of course. Changing his mind and just attacking with the Sedge here. So that means Martijn's going to drop to 17. And no follow-up play, so just a pass. So I guess Ivanov wants to use the Disc in end step. And Martijn just passing turn here. So on end step, yep, there's the regeneration shield and then the activation of the Disc. Blowing up the Dreams and the Tower. So pretty good Disc here for Ivanov. And he can now attack again for 5. He could even pump the factory exactly, deal 6 points of damage. Ooh, it's looking bad for Martijn. He's on 11. Yeah, that missed flip, that was a problem. Okay, there's a Mountain. Can he do anything with it? I mean, don't think he has any relevant cards in hand, actually. He has a land text, COP, Artifacts, Skull of Orm. All those cards don't really help him at this stage in the game. What he needs is 2 white and a Wrath. But then still he has to deal with, of course, the Mishra's Factories on the side of Ivanov. It's going to be really tough here for Martijn. There's a mountain and a pass. I mean, he's looking now at 7 points of damage. He would drop to 4 if that's the case. Let's see what Ivanov is going to do. If he's going to go for it or... Okay, he's going to animate 1. Pump it up. So just deal 6. Put him on 5. Going to play land for turn. City of Brass. Pass. Yeah, it's looking so good for Ivanov here. And that's it. Martijn picking up the card. So that means game number 1 is going to go here to Ivanov. And now both players are going to dive into their sideboards. And we will catch back up with you in game number 2. Game number 2. Here we go. So Martijn on the play, sitting on the left. Looks like both players this time kept their hands. No mulligans, it seems. Martijn starting with 8 planes, tapping the planes, and okay, there's a land tax. Oh, so much glare. Okay, but we know it's a basic planes and a land tax. So this is kind of good for Martijn. Also has an ivory tower in hand. And Ivanov already kind of in the tank here. Perhaps he's got a dark ritual. He's playing a full playset of those. So thinking about deploying a dark ritual here. Yep, there's a dark ritual. And okay, there we see the Order of the Ebon Hand. He is taking a point of damage from mana burn. I believe he could have kept that swamp in the pool, right? Because it stays the entire main phase. Then you give first strike to your 2-1. Anyway, here we see the ivory tower by Martijn. Unfortunately for us, it's really in the glare zone, but I'll try to keep you up to date on those cards. So there's the attack for 2. So Martijn dropping here to 18. Are we going to see a land drop by Ivanov? That's the big question. That's also kind of the hard question for Ivanov here. There we do see the land drop. That means a land tax activation, so he can stack it in a way that he's going to gain the life from the tower. I think that's kind of what Martijn is indicating here, that he wants to do that. And this is great news for Martijn. He's got an active tower and an active tax. And that's exactly what his deck wants to do. And it's up to Ivanov to just put a lot of pressure here on the life total of Martijn. Martijn looking up a mountain, plains, and a swamp. He's going to shuffle up. And of course, he still gets to draw his card for turn. But first, there is the ivory tower trigger. That's going to happen next. So shuffling up here. 3 cards go in hand. So let's see how many life he's going to take. 4 life for him is going to go up to 22. Yeah, this is really important for Martijn to kind of deal with that early pressure. There we see a Wrath of God found from the top. Yeah, now he's got some decisions to make. Going to go here with a basic swamp. Has a greed in hand as well. Probably going to discard some basics here. Let's see, he's got 8 cards in hand, I believe. Ooh, he's going to discard the Land's Edge. Interesting choice. Discarding that edge, knowing of course that he's got Skull of Orm to get it back later in the game. There's the attack for 2 by Ivanov. So that means Martijn's dropping here to 20. And I have to say this game 2 is already really interesting. And again a land drop. There's a Sedge. So Ivanov kind of accepting that Martijn has an active tax. He's not going to let himself being held hostage by the land tax trigger. He's like, you know what, I'm just going to play my game. I trust my deck to be able to deal enough damage to you so that, the ivory tower life doesn't really matter that much. And of course, Ivanov is playing with 4 Nevinyrral's discs, right? So that can kind of blow up that whole combination on the side of Martijn. Martijn only picking up 1 card though, just 1 basic plains. I guess that's also showing how important lands are to him. He doesn't just want to pick 3, gain life, and then start discarding a bunch of lands. That's not what he wants. So more life gain here for Martijn, going up to 24. Now drawing a card for turn, another basic. But now I think he can start doing some stuff, right? He could play out, is it greed? Is that 3 to cast? I'm not quite sure. I guess it's not. I guess it's 4 to cast, or else he would have played it out. So greed, 1 black and 2, I guess 1 black and 3. Can't remember. And there we also see, is that a divine offering in hand there for Martijn? There's the attack with 2 creatures. So that's 5 damage into the red zone. That means Martijn's going to drop to 19. Another land here for Ivanov. Is he going to play the disc? There we see the Nevinyrral's disc. Now he has that divine offering ready to go. This is perfect here for Martijn, playing the divine offering, gaining 4 more life, going to go up to 23. Yeah, divine offering Such a good card, especially in the current meta where we see so many artifacts being played. It makes Divine Offering better and better, and you see more and more decks where players choose to play with 1 Divine Offering main, 3 Disenchant. Some people even go as far as 2 Divine Offerings main and 2 Disenchants. And here we see Martijn using his land tax again, checking his hand. I believe he's got 6 cards in hand, so could go for the full 3, up to 9 for some more life gain. It of course depends on what he's planning to do. He's just going to pick up 1 basic though. I believe that means he's on 7. He's going to gain 3 more life. It would go up to 26. So shuffling his deck. Yeah, Lantex is such an incredibly strong card when you've got it active. So it's going to go to 26. Now he's going to draw his card for turn, which is a Fireball. Remember, he also has that Wrath of God. So Wrath is looking quite good now as well. There we see Wrath of God. Yeah, and Wrath, of course, gets around circle protection from white and gets around that regeneration clause on the Sedge. So this is a great point play for Martijn. I mean, and Martijn is it's looking pretty good for him. Let's see what Ivanov can do. Another Factory, swinging in for 5 damage. So Ivanov is dealing tons of damage. The problem is that Martijn is just gaining so much life. Again, he can use the land tax trigger. He's going to go for a basic plains and another basic plane. So 2 basic planes here. And I believe that means 8 cards in hand, I think. So that would be 4 life. Yeah, so 4 life added would go up to exactly 25. Then draw a card for turn. I think we're going to see that Greed sooner or later hitting the board here for Martijn. Martijn playing out a basic plains. And yep, there's the Greed. So Greed's 4 mana. It's not 3 mana. Noted. Now let's just hope that I remember. So Greed, a card from Legends. Pay 1 black and 2 life to draw a card. Also in the Glare Zone, by the way. So in the Glare Zone, we've got Lantex, Ivory Tower, and Greed. And I mean, this is tough for Ivanov because, you know, remember, he's playing red-black. Doesn't have access to Tranquility. Doesn't have access to Disenchant. The only way to really get rid of all these enchantments is through Nevinyrral's Disc. There's again an attack for 5. Martijn dropping here to 20. And now gaining 3. No lands being played out by Ivanov, so no land tax activation. There we see a Swamp. And look at that card, Disenchant in hand for Martijn. So could consider deploying the Disenchant on a Mishra's Factory, but I think I would consider keeping it in hand because it's so good against the Nevinyrral's Discs here. Ooh, look at this. There we see a Sengir Vampire, 4/4 flyer. And it looks like Martijn wants to do something on end step. Yeah, draw an extra card with the Greed. Finding a Paralyze there. Untap, upkeep. Gaining 4, going up to 25. Drawing a card for turn. Oh, COP Black. That is really good. Can deploy COP Black to protect him from the Sengir Vampire. Or is he going to do something else? Going to tap 3, it seems. Tapping 3. What are we going to see for 3? Yeah, it's going to tap 2 instead, right? Exactly. You want to go for COP Black. And the COP Black is not in the Glare Zone, so that's good news for us. Passing the turn, yeah, this is really good. And again, I wonder if he's going to fire off the Disenchant. I think that's kind of the question here. I mean, you could, because if you fire off a Disenchant, it's going to save you 2 points of damage, which basically is a card because you're playing with Greed. Then again, you've got to think of Nevinyrral's Disc. Nevinyrral's Disc can destroy your entire board. And here is the attack for 10 points of damage. Now remember, Martijn has, of course, COP Black exactly against the Sengir. Is he going to take 6? 6, he would drop here to 19. He is going to take 6. And I think he should drop here to 19. He's now on 21, but I think he should be on 19, exactly. That should be a 4. Oh, he's going to draw another card as well. So then he goes to 17. That makes sense. So life totals are now good again. And now he's going to gain life from the tower. So he's going to go back up to 21. 8 cards in hand. This is card number 9. Another Disenchant. So now he can use one of those extra Disenchants, right, on one of the towers. There we see a Paralyze, making it difficult for Ivanov. Passing the turn. Now he's got to decide if he wants to untap. Decides not to. And I think for Martijn was like, yeah, or I'm going to discard Paralyze, or I'm going to play it out on the Sangir. So might as well just play it out on the Sangir. And look at this, only animating one. There's the attack. Going to pump it. There's a disenchant, so he's not taking any damage here. There we see a sinkhole. Going to take care of one of the duels. In response, he's going to use his greed to draw an extra card. It's going to drop to 19. Ooh, and there we see a Wrath of God. So the only thing here for Martijn is, yes, Wrath is great, but it's not going to work, of course, against the Mishra's Factories because of sorcery speed. So Martijn here gaining some more life, going to go up to 22. There we do see a Swords to Plowshares in hand. That's going to be a really nice card against those Mishra's Factories. Yeah, it's going to be really tough for Ivanov. So Ivanov's going to animate, attack with both. I'm expecting to see at least one Swords here. Yep, there's a Swords to Plowshare, so that does mean 2 life for Ivanov. He's going to go back up to 21, I believe. And 2 damage here for Martijn. And I think what's really good is that Martijn is disciplined enough to keep his disenchant in his hand, using greed here, by the way. Because you want to keep that disenchant for when you have to deal with an Evangel's Disc. Look at that double greed activation. So he's really kind of digging here. And I think he wants to find that Skull of Orm to get that land's edge back, perhaps. Gonna play another land out. There's a Felwar Stone. Passing the turn. So Martijn not really finding the elements he need at the moment to deal some damage to Ivanov. There's the attack for 2. Probably just gonna drop to 18. There we see another land. There's the pass. So I wonder how often he's going to use greed here. At least 1 activation. Going to go to 16. There's another tax. Untap, upkeep, draws. It's first going to gain life, of course. Going to go back up to 20. Oh, there's the Skull of Orm. Yeah, that's what you want. So could go Skull, and he could get back the land's edge. There's Skull of Orm, also in the glare zone. So we've got land tax, Ivory Tower, Greed, and Skull of Orm all in the glare zone, just to refresh your memory. And Martijn now, of course, going to look into his graveyard. I think only Land's Edge is the only target here for the Skull. There's the attack for 2 by Ivanov. Martijn dropping to 18. Let's see if Ivanov can do anything in the second main. Ivanov not really finding any more threats. Okay, there we see a Chain Lightning. Okay, fair enough. Chain Lightning to the Dome. So Martijn dropping to 15. And you know what would be really good here, by the way, for... look at this Skull of Orm activation, getting land tax back. And also drawing an extra card from Greed, dropping to 13. What I wanted to say is what would be really good for Ivanov here is if he could find some of those Hymn to Turex to kind of attack the hand of Martijn. But it doesn't seem to happen. And now Martijn, of course, is getting a lot of life. It's going back up to 18. There's another disenchant drawn. And I wonder if you want to start using... Okay, he's going to tap 2, it seems. 3. There's the edge. Yeah, and I wonder if he's going to start using his basics now to kind of throw at Ivanov. It's, of course, better than discarding anything. He's got 8 in hand, I believe. He's going to tap 4. Oh, there we see a Jam Day Tome. Also going into the glare zone, by the way. So Jam Day Tome there. That's going to be really good. Going to fire off a land to Ivanov. So 2 damage to him. It's going to drop to 19. Both players, of course, still really high. Ivanov on 19 and Martijn on 18. There's the animate. There's the attack for 2. Martijn dropping here to 16. Looked like he was kind of considering firing off a disenchant. I believe he's got 2 disenchants in hand at the moment. Could have used the book here on end step, I think. Because he had Felwar Stone and 3 lands open. But decided not to, or simply forgot, I don't know. Finding another tower from the top. That could be quite good, actually, because you get double the amount of life. He's got 7 cards in hand, passes the turn. Yeah, this is looking really good for Martijn. He's going to gain 6 next turn. Ivanov really needs to start attacking the hand. Is playing with him to Turex. So if he can find those, he can start attacking that hand of Martijn. Of course, Ivanov's going to attack here. Another attack for 2. There's a disenchant. Gonna destroy the factory. And that's it. Ivanov picking up the card saying, you know what, you've got this one. And I think this is a good decision for Ivanov. And I'll explain why. This is tournament magic, right? You've got 50 minutes to play around. So, you know, you can continue playing this. You will eventually probably lose the game to Martijn because Martijn has a complete lock going, right? And then you don't have time to play your third game. So this way it's going to be a 1-1. And now you've got plenty of time to play that decisive third game. So I think this is a good strategy here for Ivanov. And yeah, who's going to win? Well, we're about to find out. Game number 3, the big decider here is about to begin. Ivanov on the play. And look at this, he's taking a double mulligan. Oh, and the decisive third game. That is rough. Going down to 5. Ooh. That is not great. So 5 cards in hand and on the play. I believe Martijn kept his full 7. It's going to start with the Swamp, into Ritual, into Hippie. So fully invested into this Hypnotic Spectre. I mean, if it works, Mace from the top here for Martijn. Yeah, that is rough for Ivanov. That Mace. If he has a Sinkhole, though, there's the attack sending it back. There's a Factory. If he would have had a Sinkhole, but he doesn't. There we see a Plains. And there's a land tax. Passing their turn. I would have even considered going here for Swamp. And then, you know, play my Paralyze on the Hippie. Why? If Ivanov would have found a second Swamp and maybe has a Sinkhole, he would have destroyed the Mace. He would have lost the card. But I mean, I guess that's maybe thinking a little bit too negative here. Here we've got a Tower. And there's a pass. Yeah, so Martijn really taking the risk here. There's again the activation and the attack. So 2 more damage for Martijn. Going to drop to 16. Again, no Sinkhole. So I guess he's making the right decision. Martijn going up to 17. Finding a disenchant here. I mean, this is tough, right? He wants the tax to work. But then again, if he has that 1 extra land, he has so many options. I mean, I would be tempted here to go Badlands Paralyze. We don't see it, though. And I guess in Martijn's defense, Martijn hasn't... Or, yeah, he did see a Sinkhole, I think. He saw a Sinkhole in game 1. There's the attack. And there we see an Order of the Ebon Hand to 2-1 Pump Knight. There's the pass. And he's going to gain 1 life. Going to go up to 18. Doesn't really need more lands than these 2. And I guess he's going to finally deploy the Paralyze. Or not. Does he have another option? Yep, there's a Paralyze on Hypnotic Spectre. And the Paralyze, of course, now doing work because Ivanov doesn't have the mana to untap the Hypnotic Spectre. Ivanov with 4 cards in hand. I guess the silver lining for Ivanov is that at least Martijn doesn't have a quick deck. So you kind of have time to kind of draw into cards again to build up your hand. Martijn dropping here to 16, by the way. And again, going back up to 17. There we see a tap of 2. There's a COP black. That's going to be helpful against that Order of the Ebon Hand. There's the pass to Ivanov. Let's see what he can do. Instead of land from the top, and then I wonder if he wants to play out the land. I guess the answer is no for now. At least there's the Mace on the Order. Martijn dropping to 15 and going back up to 16 again because of the Tower. And now remember, in the glare there is that COP black. There we see a Felwar Stone. There's a pass. So that Felwar Stone could be useful. It's a nice way to get extra mana without having to do a land drop. Because I think Martijn's still really hoping for a land tax activation. Ivanov for a little bit in the tank. Now has 6 cards in hand, I believe. Could of course just keep attacking. But that Felwar with COP black means that he can activate his COP black to prevent the damage. There we see a land. So he is going to use the land attacking here. For 3. He's going to send it back. And Ivanov passing the turn. And now Martijn can finally start using his tax. And maybe this is the beginning of the end for Ivanov here. I kind of feel like as soon as Martijn has that text tower combo going, that you're really in trouble. It's going to go, of course, for 3 lands. Basic mountain, basic swamp, basic plains. We saw him doing that in game number 2 as well. That means he's not just going to get extra cards, he's going to gain extra life. And of course, get some extra lands. So yeah, going to gain a ton of life here. Look at that, going to go all the way back up to 20. Draw a card for turn. Another tower. Yeah, that's perfect for him. I wonder if he's going to play out that land. There we see the tower. COP black. And he is going to have a land drop, it seems. He's going to go for plains. Passing the turn. Not going to deploy the COP red. Going to keep that in hand for now. Also has Land's Edge in hand there and Greed. It's looking very good for Martijn. There's the attack with the single order. There's the COP black activation, of course. And then we see this very important card here for Ivanov. Quick disenchant though, the Nevinyrral's Disc. Yeah, that's the problem here. When you're playing against white and your only answer to all these enchantment threats are your Nevinyrral's Discs. You know that Martijn is just going to keep disenchant in hand to kind of deal with your discs. And then Martijn, you're going to tap 3. Are we going to see the Land's Edge? There's the Land's Edge. And passing the turn. So it's a bit unfortunate, right, that Martijn's putting it all there in the glare zone. But we know it's a Land's Edge. There's another disc. Okay, this is good here for Ivanov. This is interesting. Martijn does not have a disenchant at the moment. Untap, upkeep. So 5 cards in hand. So going to gain 2, I believe. Unfortunately, we can't see it there, but I believe he's on 22 now. Another land. Yeah, this is a big problem here for Martijn. He's going to lose everything here to the disc. This is devastating for him. Going to have his land drop, passing the turn. Uh-oh, this is exactly what Ivanov needed. Yeah, this is great news for him. Pops the disc, he can start attacking again, taking care of 2 ivory towers, land text, Land's Edge, and a COP black. Wow. Of course, he is losing 2 creatures as well, but who cares? Also taking out a Felwar Stone, by the way. So this is a huge disc activation. This is a big deal. The good news for Martijn, though, is he is playing with those Skull of Orm, so if he can find one. And in his second main, Ivanov here playing another Hypnotic Spectre. There we see another land. Does have that Wrath of God, but I mean also has that Mace. There's a Greed. That Greed's going to help Martijn to kind of find his skull, right? Skull of Orm and then get back into it. But this is an interesting third game. I mean, Ivanov is really back. Ooh, look at that. There's a Strip Mine. Oh, this is great for Ivanov. Can now swing in for 6 and steal a card out of the hand for Martijn. Trouble in paradise for Martijn. I wonder, yeah, he's going to use the Greed, it seems. Going to go to 20 or not. Okay, first take the damage. And card number 2 is going to be lost. It's a basic plains. Okay, that's good news for Martijn at least. So I guess Martijn was on 26, right? Now he's going to use the Greed. So drop to 20, then uses the Greed. Drop to 18. Then draws a card for turn. Okay, there's the Swords to Plowshares. I mean, these are pretty good cards here. For Martijn. Martijn can use, of course, the Swords and can also deploy the IC first. So there's an IC Manipulator. An artifact and 1 mana and tap. And you can tap target land, artifact, or creature. There's the activation. Wants to go into combat. And now Martijn has to respond if he wants to use that IC. First gonna tap the Scrubland. Look at that. So he's gonna tap down the Hypnotic with the IC. And he's gonna take an extra card. I guess first take the damage. Gonna drop to 14. I kind of expected him to use the Swords. But maybe he wants value out of his Wrath. Does he have a Wrath in hand still? I believe so. Anyway, uses His greed again going to drop to 12. Ooh, Divine Offering, that's quite good. If he has a Wrath, he needs to deploy it now. Because he's quite low, and of course you want to keep your life to use your greeds. There we see Wrath of God, exactly. So I had a Wrath in hand, so I was kind of really waiting for Ivanov to play out more creatures. Didn't want to use his swords yet. Passing the turn. Could have, of course, used the swords as well on one of the factories. I think I would have considered that also because you have a greed in play, right? So if you save 2 life now, you get it. You can cash that in for an extra card. There's the animation. Gonna tap one down. Gonna pump the other up. In response, he could play the swords now. Yeah, so in response, plays the sword. So that means 2 life for Ivanov. It's gonna go up to 22 and no damage dealt here. So Martijn's gonna stay on 12. Can Ivanov put some more pressure on the board? That's the question. Okay, there's a chain. Chain does work. Remember, Ivanov is playing 4 Chain Lightnings and 4 Lightning Bolts. I wonder if he maybe boarded out a few chains, you know, for other sideboard cards. But I mean, the Chain Lightning is really good, especially considering that Martijn can now no longer use that life to for his greed to get more cards. So here we see another land. We see a Skull of Orm in the hand of Martijn. Gonna play out COP red. Yeah, realizing, oh yeah, the burn is a thing here. Gonna tap 3 for Skull, I assume. Skull of Orm. So we've got Greed, Ivory Tower, Circle of Protection red, and a Skull of Orm. Now we've got some glitches on the line, unfortunately, but they seem to be gone now. Ivanov here tapping 3. What is he gonna do? There's a Sedge Troll. And I'm really liking this battle between these 2 players. It's very interesting. Ivanov, of course, still on 22. And I think the problem for Ivanov here now is that COP red. If he can manage to find another disc and to actually use the disc, which is going to be tough because Martijn has a Divine Offering in hand. But that would be great, of course, for Ivanov. There's the pass. And now he's going to use Skull of Orm. Yeah, now Ivanov is in trouble again. Getting back to COP black. Yeah, I mean, Martijn really working on his protection. Gonna draw a card here. Gonna play out COP black. So as COP black and COP red at the moment, passing the turn. And of course, he's got that Icy Manipulator against the Mishra's Factory. There's another Sedge. There's the pass. Probably going to see another activation here. Oh, he's going to tap the Mishra's Factory, I guess, with the Icy. And we're probably going to see an activation with the Skull. It's kind of indicating with his hands that he's going to use it. Of course, both players are talking to each other here. We can't hear that, so that's why Martijn's not tapping the mana. Of course, it's always nice for us to see them actually tap the cards. And here we see an Lance Edge, by the way. Again in the glare zone, but it's a Lance Edge. And the Lance Edge could do some work for Martijn, but look at that. Martijn also has played out a lot of lands already. And Ivanov is kind of stuck here, right? It looked like he was going to win after that activation of the disc, but now he's in trouble again. There's the activation of the factory. I'm a little bit surprised that Martijn here is not tapping down the factory, right? He's going to tap 3, so he's gonna gonna prevent the damage, and he's gonna tap down the factory. Indeed. Now do remember that you need to tap down, you know, technically speaking, you need to tap down the creatures before they go into combat, right? So how it works is Ivanov is animating his factory, saying, I want to go into combat, do you want to respond? And then Martijn has to use his Icy Manipulator. You cannot do that during combat anymore. So you have to do it before combat. So here's the activation. So strictly speaking, exactly, you would tap it down now. There's the attack. Then you would pay 2 for the COP reds, take no damage. There's another Sedge. And I mean, I get Ivanov here. You just want to keep attacking. You want to do whatever you can do. And if you're Martijn, you just want to kind of keep all your basics or all your lands in hand, right? Because you've got the Lance Edge. There's again the activation. So we're going to see the same here. Tapping it down, paying 3 for the COP reds. And there we see the Order of Lightbur. Okay, so Order of Lightbur is, of course, black. But remember, Order of the Ebon Hand. Order of Lightbur is the white version. Order of the Ebon Hand is the black version here, of course, being played out by Ivanov. There's a Wrath of God cleaning the table. But actually that doesn't matter that much because Martijn was already protected with his COP red and his COP black. There's the activation. Gonna tap it down again. There's the pass. Gonna draw an extra card with greed. Gonna go to 5. Very greedy. I mean, he needs a tower, right? If he can get a tower. There's the tower. Yeah, this is great news for him. It's looking really good for Martijn here. Deploying the other Underworld Dreams. Passing the turn. I believe 4 cards in hand for Martijn. So tower not active yet. There's the activation. Gonna tap it down. And there's the pass. Yeah, and this is going to be really rough for Ivanov. Martijn going up to 7. There's a land tax in hand. I'm just going to pass. I mean, land tax not going to do much with so many lands. And at this point, Ivanov on 20, it seems. There's another tap down for the factory. That means even more life. He's going to draw an extra card with greed. Untap, upkeep, draw. Let's see how much life gain he gets here from his tower. We're going to go back up to 4. So I guess that means 9 or 8 in hand. I mean, drawing card number 9 now, which is a paralyze. I mean, could consider throwing some lands at Ivanov. That's exactly what he does here. He's probably going to deal exactly and then put him on 16. There's a double bolt. He can prevent it though. Untap, upkeep, draw. Yeah, Ivanov really in desperation mode here. I guess if he can find another factory, that could do something. Then he can start attacking with 2. Because, I mean, Martijn has no mazes, has no blockers. So only those towers can, or only those icy manipulators, I mean, can stop the Mishra's factories. So yeah, Ivanov a little bit in the tank here thinking, is there a way out of this? Asking about cards in hand. So there we see another bolt being prevented by the COP. There we see a land. Now I wonder if this is now a red source or not. So can he prevent it with Circle of Protection red? I guess he can, right? Because it's you deal the damage through the land's edge. So Martijn protecting himself here. There's another one. Yeah, this is really tough for Ivanov. I mean, he's trying, but the problem is that Martijn has so many lands. He has so much mana to pump into his Circle of Protections. It's going to animate. It's going to be tapped down, of course. There's the pass. Yeah, Ivanov kind of giving up here in a way. There's another Skull of Orm being drawn by Martijn. Martijn going back up to 11. There's another land. Throwing 2 lands here at Ivanov. Ivanov dropping to 12. Passes the turn. There's the activation. Gonna tap it down again. Not quite sure why he goes to 11, by the way. He's going to go to 9 using greed twice. Untap, upkeep, and draw. Well, first, of course, the upkeep. First, the life gain. Going up to 13. Yeah, now we're just waiting for Martijn here to win the game, to wrap it up. Having that Land's Edge on the table. Oh, one of the cards there is an Underworld Dreams that Martijn just played out. I missed that one. That's why Ivanov took a damage and went to 11. That explains it. 2 more lands. And he drops to 7. And I have to say, I really am enjoying watching Martijn's plan work. You know, I was looking at the deck list. And I was like, I can see what you want to do, but it's looking pretty fragile. But seeing it work here is really, really cool. And I mean, Ivanov is completely stuck. There's nothing he can do. He had that momentum after that successful disc activation and almost killed Martijn. But Martijn got back just in time, stabilized, and now he's in full control. He's on 13 at the moment, 6 here for Ivanov. There's the pass. He's going to take an extra card, and an extra card again. So lots of cards. He is going to drop to 9. Untap, upkeep. Let's see how much life he gains. So going to go 6 life. Okay, so going to go from 9 to 15. There's a mace. I guess you don't even want to play out the mace. Exactly, you want to throw it to the life of Ivanov. Ivanov dropping to 4. There's a Gem Day Tome. That's going to be quite good. Wow, so many cards in that glare zone. It's amazing. And this is Martijn discarding here the land tax, Ivanov taking a damage from the Underworld Dreams. And look at that, they're on turns. So the reason you see the dice here in the middle of the table is the fact that there are only 5 turns left. So Martijn has to win this game quickly. Going to draw an extra card. Okay, there's Fireball. Yeah, that's going to do it for him, probably. I don't think Ivanov has an answer to Fireball. More life gained here. Turn number 3. Yeah, and I'm expecting to see the Fireball here. There's the Fireball. And, yep, that's game. So Martijn winning it here. And, you know, like I said, it is cool to see decks like Martijn's in action, working. I think it's really nice. It's very inspirational. Thank you, Martijn, for bringing this cool deck here to the X Points Dutch Open. And you can see these cool decks can also work. There's still innovation in Old School Magic for sure, and in X Points. So well done, Martijn. You're winning this round number 4 of the X Points Dutch Open. And that was the episode for today, but please join us again for the next episode, because then we have the finals of the Dutch Open, and then we see these 2 decks in action. So a blue-white Flyers deck, kind of Lion, Serendip, Ep3 here, and then we also see a Troll Disco deck with some Rook eggs. So that's going to be really, really explosive. So this is the finals of the Dutch X Points Open 2025. Now, if you want to make sure you don't miss that upload, hit that subscribe button and ring that bell, because that way you will be notified whenever I put new content out there. And I tend to put 2 new matches on the channel every week. That's on the Tuesday and a Friday. So if you subscribe and you hit that bell, then you don't have to miss a thing. Before you go, please take a moment to like, share, and comment on this video. All these things are free and really help the channel move forward. Talking about moving forward, you can also become a patron of the show. Check out patreon.com/TimmyTalks to find out how you can become a supporter. And the cool thing is, if you become a patron of the show, you get access to the Timmy Talks Discord. And if you also become a supporter at the tier 2 level, your name will be added to the end scroll at the end of every single video. What end scroll? This end scroll.
What shall we do with the drunken sailor? What shall we do with the drunken sailor? What shall we do with the drunken sailor? Early in the morning, way hey and up she rises, way hey and up she rises, way hey and up she rises. Early in the morning, putting in the longboat until he's sober, putting in the longboat until he's sober, putting in the longboat until he's sober. Early in the morning, way hey and up she rises, way hey and up she rises, way hey and up she rises. Early in the morning, pull out the plug and wet him all over, pull out the plug and wet him all over, pull out the plug and wet him all over. Early in the morning, way hey and up she rises, way hey and up she rises, way hey and up she rises. Early in the morning. What shall we do with the drunken sailor? What shall we do with the drunken sailor? Put him in the scout to the hook, my son, you put him in the scout to the hook, my son, you put him in the scout to the hook, my son, you. Early in the morning, way hey up she rises, way hey up she rises, way hey up she rises. Early in the morning.
Icketus, ficketus, somber, kazee.